Today, Austin and Tim travel back in time to Halloween night in 1979, watching 5 movies. Monty Python's scary religious satire, Life of Brian. The creepy French comedy that was the inspiration for The Birdcage, CAGE AUX FOLLES. Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen in the heart-wrenching thriller, Time After Time. The wholesome, R-rated family film Dracula starring Frank Langella. And capping off the evening with the knee-slapping comedy Werner Herzog's NOSFERATU the Vampire. Blood-sucking freaks, Jack the Ripper, hostile aliens, bloodthirsty wolves, drag queens, Jesus. Prepare to be scared stiff right here on Film Geek Time Machine.
Hello everyone and welcome to Film Geek Time Machine. I'm your host Austin Kennedy.
I'm Tim Kaiser.
Yay, hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in like an hour and a half since we saw all these movies.
That's right, yay!
Well, it's been like a couple of days.
It's been a couple of days. We come back, we gotta think about the movies and then go back and talk about them.
Hunker down everybody. We're going to talk about 5 things. Woo! Almost half as many as last time.
Oh yeah, we did 8 last time. But
we did 11 things last time.
Oh, that's
Austin.
right, because of the shorts and stuff. Yeah. What is Film Geek Time Machine? This is the podcast where Tim and I go back in time. We pick random dates. Usually this day I wanted to pick a Halloween, so we went to Halloween.
Yeah.
And then we look at the newspaper, thanks to newspapers.com, and the Star and Tribune, which is Minneapolis paper, because that's where I'm from, Minnesota, so it makes sense to me to do that.
I'm from Menominee.
You are?
I'm from Menominee, Wisconsin.
You are?
Sort of. I was born there. I never lived there.
Menominee.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm from there. I know the Menominee song that Jim Henson ripped off.
That was the official song from
It's actually, it's weird. Do you know the story of that song?
No.
It's originally from like a softcore porn.
Oh, no, I do know that.
It's weird ass porn, but then the
Jim
Muppets
Henson,
took it. It's a crazy
was
story.
Jim Henson just like at the porno theater one day?
He maybe, but then he heard a song and he goes, "That's the fucking greatest song in the world," and I'll never get it out of my head.
Right. Well, what we do is we pick movies. This time we pick 5 movies. We do a movie marathon. So I think our movie marathon started around 1:00 this time, and then it ended around midnight. But yeah, so we picked 5 movies this time. But before we do that, so October 31st, 1979. That was our date. Let's find our stuff. There we go. We're gonna look at the newspaper. Actually, before we look at the newspaper, we're gonna look at the top hits of the singles. There it is, number 1.
Don't stop till you get enough. Michael Jackson.
Don't stop till you get enough by Michael Jackson.
That was number 1, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's really good. Michael Jackson song.
Albert Rise was number 2?
Yeah. The Commodore's Sail On.
My Sharona, awesome. Fucking awesome. Pop music, yes!
Pop music, yep. Donna Summer, Dim All the Lights. Dirty White Boy by Foreigner. Heartache Tonight.
Born to Be Alive made it to 16 here. Yeah. I was wondering how
Don't Bring Me Down, ELO.
Because that's Born to Be Alive is one of those songs that was super huge in the rest of the world, and here it was only mildly okay.
Right. You get some Doobie Brothers and Please Don't Go, Casey and the Sunshine Band. Yeah, some good stuff in here. What was on TV in October 31st, 1979 it was Halloween night, so Bugs Bunny's Halloween special was on.
Oh my God, that thing was on every year.
Yeah, and the Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile, obviously another special. I don't know what that is.
The Two Worlds of Jeannie Logan. Yep. I do not know what that is.
That was a TV movie.
Whatever the fuck that's about.
Well, let's take a look. It has Lindsay Wagner and...
really? It's got the Bionic Woman.
The premise is after moving to an old house in the country, a woman discovers a dress in the attic, which allows her to travel back into the past, where she becomes involved with a man who is doomed unless she can alter history.
That's The Mirror.
Yeah?
There's a novel called The Mirror that's very similar.
That sounds like that. The TV shows are on. We got 8 is Enough, which I remember watching as a kid. Charlie's Angels. Vegas, which had Robert Urich
Yep,
in Vegas.
that was one of Robert Urich's many shows.
Different Strokes, and then Hello Larry, which I'm not familiar with Hello Larry, but
Hello Larry.
yeah, not
Nope.
familiar with that one. And then
Don't
Best
know
of
that one
Saturday
at
Night
all.
Live, which
What-
it was in '79, so they already had a Best of Saturday Night Live. It was only on for like 4 years.
But if you try to watch some of the older ones, the good stuff is good, but the bad stuff is the fucking worst.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty
It's
bad.
real terrible.
Okay, let's look at the paper from what we actually saw some movies. So let's see. So the ones we didn't pick. So there's a bunch of movies that were out. There's actually quite a few. The one that really struck your fancy was when you saw the ad for Jesus.
Yeah.
There was an ad.
The
Just says,
hippiest version of Jesus movie.
it says Jesus on it, and then
I looked up stuff about it.
yeah, it says Jesus rated G, distributed by Warner Brothers, and on the and we're looking at the ad right now. It says Jesus, the man you thought you knew. And when I did some research on it too, the producer of it said we didn't list any of the actors or any of the writers and directors or anything because we were vessels making this
Yeah.
movie. And I'm like, oh my god!
It says something about the script was literally just the Bible.
The
Or a
Good News
specific-
Bible.
The Good News Bible.
Yeah.
A specific version of the Bible.
And you really wanted to see it. I was kind of
Well,
like,
I really wanted to see it because one of the movies I went.
I knew it wasn't. Oh yeah, it would fit.
It
with
would
it.
have been perfect match.
But
also the five we saw, I wanted to see all them
I
too.
knew it wasn't gonna. I'm like, that's not. It can't be good. It can't be.
No, it's not
There's
going to be good.
No way that's gonna be good.
I didn't expect it to be good.
And I
Austin.
don't
I'm not
want-
here only to watch good movies. If I was, I wouldn't watch most of our movies.
I'm hoping that they're good. And that one, I'm like, I don't even want to see that one. Well, one of my favorite movies was in the theater. We didn't go see it. Was the Muppet movie.
Oh yeah,
That's one of my That's in my top 10 really.
That's
love,
a top 5 movie for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, awesome.
Part of it is when I was a kid.
It's still good though.
It's still good. I've seen it recently.
A Burt Reynolds movie called Starting Over, which is actually a pretty good one. I've seen it years ago. Avalanche Express, which has Robert Shaw, was an action movie. That would have been.
We could have seen Halloween. It seems to come out every year or something at the time.
Well, that was only a year old at this point.
it was only a
Halloween
1 year old. Okay.
Meteor, which was a Sean Connery, Natalie Wood disaster
what the
film.
fuck is wrong with you, kitty?
But a disaster movie with Sean Connery about it was pretty much Armageddon before it was Armageddon. It's an asteroid coming to Earth.
Did
and
they
gotta
go up
figure
there
out-
to do anything about it?
I think they send something up there to try to blow it up.
Oh, really?
Pretty sure I saw
You know
it years
something?
ago.
Now I'm mad that we didn't see that movie because it sounds fucking stupid and I love it.
Al Pacino and Justice for All. Apocalypse Now was in
Yep,
town,
we
which
could-
that's one of my favorites. I love it. 10
Some movies that start on Friday, there's a lot of big
Running,
ads for future movies.
and,
Running.
and Promises in the Dark and Yanks, which weren't out yet. When a Stranger Calls, which I haven't seen, but you said the first 20 minutes was really
That's
good.
it. The first 20 minutes of Malone to Stranger Calls are a fucking classic. And I'm going to tell you, I don't even remember the rest of the movie. Okay?
The other movie we almost saw was Great Balloon Adventure, which was a family film starring Katharine Hepburn. I don't know if that
Cool.
was going to be good.
I mean, it sounds like a novelty fun thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a re-release of Sleeping Beauty.
Yep. North Dallas 40, which I almost, because I love Nick Nolte. It's a football movie with him, so I've never seen that. Animal House was still out.
The In-Laws.
Rocky 2. Amityville Horror, which was a horror film. Up in Smoke, still out.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, the ones that we did go see, we picked 5. This is a rarity where I haven't seen any of these, and you saw 2 of these.
I have
before.
seen, well, okay, yes. Although one of them, maybe I haven't seen it. After I watched it, I'm like, I guess I hadn't seen it before.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I just assumed I had seen it.
Oh, really?
But now I'm like watching it, I'm like, either if I had, I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, wow.
I only remember the Mimi stuff.
Okay.
It's the first one, by the way.
Wow, so you don't remember? Okay, you don't.
It was just the first one.
So the first one. So this is funny. So I've seen a lot of movies, and if I haven't seen them, I know about them. And the thing is, I'll always surprise people though. They're like, "What? You haven't seen that movie?" And this is one of them, and that's why I wanted to see it. Mom. So the first one we picked was Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Yeah.
And you were even like, "What? You haven't seen that?"
Well, apparently I hadn't seen it because I'm
you didn't
starting watching
remember
it. I'm
any
like,
of
apparently I just misremembered.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
if
yeah.
I had, there was a chance I saw it literally 30
I
years
remember
ago. so
I've
of course
seen
I
like
remember.
the ending song, but
Well, yeah, I had seen that, and
but you know, I've never seen it. And
I knew about the weird space alien shit, but only like
I did not know about that.
Tangentially, I only remembered that when it happened.
The second movie we did, I really wanted to see this because based off of the Birdcage was based off of this. La Cage aux Folles is the
Yep.
French film that the Birdcage was based off of. Time after time, that's a movie you're like, we gotta watch it.
Yeah, because you said you hadn't seen it, and I'm
And you're
like, okay, I'm putting my foot down. We're watching that movie. I mean, part of it was I'm like, I know for a fact I'm gonna like one of these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna not like Life of Brian, but I also knew like, oh yeah, Time of Time. That was always
and then
that was always a great movie.
Since it was Halloween, we did see 2 horror films to end the night. So
not just 2 horror films. Basically the same horror film, but not different. But very different.
But very different, yeah. Based off of the Dracula book and play. So Dracula is just called Dracula, and that's the 1979. Frank Langella plays Dracula with Laurence Olivier as Van Helsing. And then the remake of Nosferatu the Vampire, which is Werner Herzog, and this is with Klaus Kinski. And it was German, but they shot it in 2 different languages. One was in English, one was in German, and then they released the English one.
Thoughts about that when we get to it.
But anyways, those are the 5 movies. So let's go into Life of Brian. So Monty Python's Life of Brian. I mean, this is probably a dumb question, but you probably like Monty Python.
Yes, I like Monty Python. I mean, no, there are people my age who actively hate Monty Python.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you,
figured you would.
I would have said something when we were talking about it. I'm like, oh, guess we'll watch it, even though I don't like Life of Brian or Monty Python. I like Monty Python.
So I've seen pretty much all the other feature films, like And Out for Something Completely Different, and Meaning of Life, and Holy Grail.
Somehow this one just dodged you.
Yeah,
You dodged it like Matrix
and
style.
what's really, I mean, I really dodged it, and not really on purpose, but my brother, obviously I lived with my brother growing up in high school and stuff, and through my whole life, he had this on VHS, and I never saw it. I never watched it.
Weird.
I don't know. I remember him watching it, and I think I might have walked in the room when he was watching it one time, but I never sat down to watch it. And
what did you see?
No particular reason.
You never happen to notice nakedness for the one scene of nakedness when you were a teenage boy? You're like, I'm going to watch the rest of this movie.
No, I did not walk in that part.
That lady's naked.
I didn't walk in that part. So this is pretty much making fun of the whole, the Jesus story, essentially.
Sort of, is it? I mean, it's Monty Python in Jesus times.
Yes.
Some of it, yes, is making fun. Some of it is just them doing Monty Python sketches with a ancient Rome.
That just takes place in there. Yeah. It's in Israel or whatever, Jerusalem. But and so Brian he happens to live next door to Jesus, and he gets mistaken by the 3 wise men.
Born next door.
Well, right, because he gets mistaken in the same day.
In Bethlehem.
Yeah. And so, like, the 3 wise men come and talk to his mom, and played by Terry Jones, but then they're like, realize, that they push her aside and they go to the real.
That was, because they think he's Jesus.
Yeah.
And then once they give him all the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, they go outside and they see
a beam of light,
the
pretty
stuff,
much.
The painting stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff where they have halos and all that shit. And you're like, oh, I know, wrong kid.
What's interesting about this movie, it's just the movie. This movie felt like it was like 45 minutes long. For me, it goes by so fast.
It does.
It's like 90 minutes, but it goes by so fast because it just follows Brian, and he just goes through one series of events through another. There's some stuff in the beginning, which I'll get into, but the main plot starts around like the 20-some minute mark, where he meets some people that are trying to go against, the Roman Empire. And so he kind of joins them, but then he we're going to go inside and what are they going to capture something? Or they're going to...
They're going to capture Pontius Pilate's wife.
That's right.
For like some type of blackmail stuff to get rid of the Romans and blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm not up on any whether there were actual plots like that happened. Okay?
So, but anyways, but they all die. Except for him.
I mean, yes, all the ones who actually go on the mission.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because Cleese doesn't go on the mission.
No. One other Cleese.
One of the 85 Cleeses in this movie.
Sorry, this is
like half the fucking
This is Monty Python. Each Monty Python member plays like 15 characters.
Yes.
So, but
to such a degree that you will leave one room, and then the same guy will be in the other room, and you just basically
sometimes they're the same scene, actually.
You just have to act like it's a different guy.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all.
and that's how it was in like a Holy Grail and stuff too. So you just have to I mean, you're used to that. So he is trying to get away from them, and it's almost like a chase where they're like, where they're like chasing him around, and that's when the space thing happens too. But
yes, during a chase, while he's falling,
he's going up a tower. So he goes to it. He's going up a tower, and it's not finished.
Yeah.
And he falls down, and then a spaceship literally goes underneath him, and now he's inside a spaceship with aliens. And there's a space battle, and then the spaceship crashes. He gets out of the ship, And the chase resumes.
Yep. And they just
they don't even talk about it.
Well, like when the spaceship crashes, it literally goes into outer space, and they're flying around, and then it crashes in the exact same city that it left.
Yeah.
And also, it's all in the Monty Python animation of paper cutouts.
Well, it's the Terry Gilliam animation.
The spaceship is. The aliens are actually really cool looking.
Really cool looking. No, I was actually really impressed with those effects.
And he never mentions it.
No.
And he seems mostly nonplussed. He's like, what? Okay, whatever. He just sort of accepts it, and then it's over, and they never mention it again. Well, it is fully Monty Python insanity.
And you know, and if they did mention it again, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. I love it that they didn't even talk about it.
Yep.
Well, then what happens is, as he's escaping, there's a bunch of people lined up, like prophets and messiahs.
Well, it's because earlier in the film, in the only 2 times you ever technically see Jesus. One is he's a baby, and I guess you see him. He's part of a glowing thing off the distance. And then he's doing one of his sermons. Yeah. And we can't hear him.
You know.
And they can only sort of hear him, and they're trying to repeat it back to people who are even further away.
And then Brian's mom's like, let's go watch a stoning instead.
Yeah, that's right. They don't care. But after that, some other people want to do their own sermons.
Right. So then he pretends to do that just so the Roman guards chasing him won't look at him. People start liking what he's saying, and they start following him, thinking that he's going to be the next big thing.
He's literally just running from the Romans, and so he just makes up bullshit.
He's making up bullshit.
And then when the Romans are gone, he's like, okay, see you later.
But then they
won't
let
him fucking leave.
Yeah, and then, even, like, he wakes up.
And one of them is the chick he has the hots for.
Right. So he has sex with her, and then he wakes up, and he's full naked, and he opens up the door, and everyone's like, hey, Brian!
And they're like, yeah, there's his dick.
Yep. But then, and then she comes up and she's got the big muffin.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, the best.
It's old.
Well, no, but what's funny about that?
If she was shaved, it would have been really weird.
No, but what was really funny though was because Terry Jones playing the mom just stops talking and just stares straight at her muff like, what? Which was, I thought was really funny.
I assume, like most mothers, just assume their sons never have sex.
Yeah.
You have a kid.
Yeah.
Your mom still thinks you're a virgin. Okay, I'm telling you right now. Okay. She's listening to this. She has listened to this podcast where I made you talk about losing your virginity, and she still thinks you're a virgin. Okay.
So, but then it ends up like he gets captured, and then he gets he's being sentenced to be crucified. And he's hoping to be rescued, and people come and they're like, "Oh, they're gonna rescue him." They're like, "Hey, thanks for taking one for the team. Goodbye." And then one of the guys on there,
one of the other guys who his brother always breaks him out. This has happened to him a bunch of times. He goes, "Oh no, I always get rescued by my brother." Yep. And I'm like, "You got natural? You got like permanent holes in your hands? Yep. Is that what's going on here?"
And then they sing "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life." That's the end of the movie.
Yep, that's the end of the movie.
I like it. I think it was pretty good. It's not my favorite of the Python films.
I think it's weird that I don't think it's ever anybody's favorite Monty Python. I think obviously most people consider Holy Grail.
Meaning of Life's my personal favorite, actually.
Meaning of Life is really good.
I love that movie.
But Meaning of Life.
But Holy Grail is a masterpiece.
This has more plot than any of the other ones, though.
I think so.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Because Holy Grail is just still a gag.
Yeah.
All the gags take place in, King Arthur and stuff.
So
this has an actual plot that kind of goes through.
And they just throw all the gags in, and some of them worked more than others for me.
Yeah.
I thought the beginning, like the first one, when the three wise men came in and talking to her mom, I didn't think it was that funny. I thought that kind of went on a little long, and I'm like, okay, I didn't think it was that funny. They're like, I'll take the mayor.
Yeah, it goes on. One of them's in full brown face.
And I'm just
it's a version of brown face that I'm like, this is like a joke version of brown face. Because he never bothered with his hands or his neck or anything like that.
I thought, so I'm like, okay, is this going to be any good? And then the theme song comes on, and it's like a James Bond parody.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I laughed really hard at that. And then Terry Gilliam's animation style for the title sequence is very much making fun of the Bond title sequences. So I thought that was really funny.
Right here, amazing credits.
It was great. It was great.
Notes.
So the next scene, they're listening to Jesus talk, and I thought there were some really funny things going on. We're like, "Oh, you big nose," and they're talking.
Oh yeah, big nose. And I'm like, that guy's nose wasn't pretty.
No, and I thought that stuff was funny. But the thing that I laughed at really hard though was the stoning scene where the women are not allowed there, so they sell the beards to everyone, and they're All the people at the Stony, they're all women
with rocks.
And they're like,
one guy sold him, I guess, gave him rocks. Rocks, special rocks.
And John Cleese is the guy that's like, okay, stoning, we're gonna stone him on my, but then they like throw the stones early.
You can't say the name of God. You can't say Jehovah.
Oh my God!
And he says Jehovah like 8 times and gets stoned every time.
I know. And then and then they actually like crush him and kill him.
Oh God!
Oh, that scene ends. I was laughing so hard, but like all the women are like, "Who did that? He did. She did. I mean, he did. He did."
Yeah.
And
well, they would also fuck their voice up. Hello, yes, it was him.
And then they.
I mean, yeah.
And then they like, oh no, never mind. Yeah. I thought that stuff was really funny. The spaceship stuff that I had no idea that was going to happen.
I didn't remember it until it started happening. I'm like, oh yeah,
I was laughing for 2 minutes straight during that whole sequence because I was laughing so hard. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Some of the weird stuff is funny. I mean, as much as I said it has the paper cutout, once they get to outer space, no, it's like special effects outer space.
It's really good special effects.
And it's like, holy shit. How much fucking money did George Harrison give him? Because
that's right. Yeah.
That's where they got the budget for this.
Yeah, George Harrison was a big Monty Python fan, and he pretty much one of them
couldn't get funding or something.
Right. Well, one of them said it was the most expensive ticket of all time because he just wanted to see the movie. Oh, and so he's like, I don't know if it was Eric Idle or one of them said that. And it was like, yeah, he bought the most expensive ticket. He's like, here's $3 million. I want to see this movie.
Well, he got to do that.
I feel like I would do that too, though, if I had millions to go around.
If he wasn't.
I'd be like, oh, let's see, who do I want to make a movie today? You should make this movie. Here's $5 million. Like,
I mean,
I'd
go shake his hand for being a cool dude, but he's dead, so never mind. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, I liked it, and then of course the song at the end, always look on the bright side of life. I thought towards the last little part of it, it wasn't as funny. I thought the pacing was going down a little bit.
It's weird because actually at the end when he gets crucified, I'm like, this is sadder. Than the greatest story ever told.
Yeah.
The greatest story ever told, because I guess I knew everything that was happening and stuff. This, I'm like, this is sad because, first of all, it isn't just about Brian. There's a bunch of other people there.
Yeah.
And Jesus, yes, in all the movies, there'll be other people there. At least in Greatest Story Ever Told, you don't give one rate. You're not supposed to fucking care about those other people. And I'm like, no, those other people are just as fucking tragic as Brian.
Yeah.
This is just a story of one guy who got crucified. Mm-hmm. Just as bad as the other guys. I thought this was actually a story about somebody. This is why I thought I had seen this, and I guess I hadn't.
Yeah.
I thought Brian was mistaken for Jesus.
No,
but he's not.
Right, no, he's not.
As a matter of fact, Jesus is not crucified in this movie.
No.
Is he crucified later?
Yeah.
Even though at one point they mentioned Passover.
Oh, right,
We're going to do all this, Passover. I mean, it's a funny joke.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay.
One of my favorite, towards the end of the movie, though, when Eric Idle, he's the guy that's like, he's like so excited to get crucified, right?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh, what do you want? I'm like, oh, I want freedom. No, that's my crucifixion. I was like,
that was that one guy, the guy in the jail cell.
Yeah.
It was like all about, you're so fucking lucky to get crucified.
Yeah.
Because he's been in there for years.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and they finally turned me upside right earlier today. And then later on you see him, nope, I'm back to being upside down. I'm like, God damn it.
This is one of those movies, too, if I watch it again, I might even like it more.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm at a really solid 3 stars.
I'm going to give it a solid, I'm going to go 3.5, actually.
Really?
I thought it was, I actually really liked it.
I might go 3.5 if I see it again, but for right now, it's 3, because I thought some jokes landed more than others, but there's so many of them.
There are lots.
You're gonna find something that you're gonna like.
Yeah, it isn't like whatever that shitty garbage thing was.
No,
the Gag a Minute movie that we saw. Your birthday episode.
Oh, Tunnel Vision.
That thing was an hour and 8 minutes, and it felt like 16 weeks.
This was 90 minutes. This felt like 45 minutes long. It was real quick.
A fucking one episode of television.
And Terry Jones directed it. It's funny. So Terry Gilliam, he was a member of the Monty Python. All the Monty Python people, they're all good in the movie. Yeah. Terry Jones is probably my least favorite one. But Michael Palin, Terry Jones, Eric Idle, Terry Gilliam, John Cleese, Graham Chapman, Graham Chapman died in the early 80s.
Yeah,
so he didn't.
He was the first one of them to die.
Yep. Oh, Terry Jones died, but are the other ones still alive? Gilliam, Cleese, Idle, and Palin. I think they're all
those
still
four are all still kicking.
Yeah,
young. They were. These guys weren't particularly young then.
No, they were like late 30s probably.
Yeah, this is 45, almost 50 years. This is 45 years later.
Yeah.
This is quite a while.
No, but they're all pretty good, and Graham Chapman plays Brian, and he did a good job.
Yeah.
But it's funny. So both Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones directed Holy Grail together. They had a lot of conflict of interests and stuff. They didn't really get along as far as visual style. So Gilliam didn't want to have anything to do with the directing in this one.
Well, this one definitely had
Jones to take
higher
over.
production value.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing you see is people on actual camels, and I'm like, oh, that's right. There's nobody with fucking
and the sets and everything are really well done. Production design looks great, but they still like had conflicts and stuff because what did Terry Gilliam say about it? He's like, you know, because he designed he did a lot of the set decoration and the set production. He's like, well, you couldn't tell it was that good because the way Terry Jones shot it, like he was really kind of bitter about it a little bit.
I thought it was fine.
And, well, at this point, Terry Gilliam was he already directed his own first movie by himself, which was Jabberwocky.
Okay.
With Michael Palin. Then right after this, then he went on to make Time Bandits.
Yeah, and he's the one who actually went on to have his actual own
Brazil,
his own directing career.
Yeah, Fisher King, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, because some of the other ones have had their own film career. You know what I mean?
John Cleese.
Cleese has been in a million things.
Fish Called Wanda's fucking one of my favorite comedies of all time. Yeah. It's really good. No, Life of Brian, it's fun. Obviously, if you're listening to it, I want to say a lot of majority of people have probably seen this already.
Yes, probably.
Probably.
I'm sure we're not talking about the stuff you want us to talk about. Too bad.
Okay. The next movie, CAGE AUX FOLLES, is which the Birdcage went on to remake. Now, did you ever see? Have you seen The Birdcage?
I saw it a while ago, but I couldn't remember a ton about it because it was like when it came out.
No,
which was like 30 fucking years ago.
Right, 96, and now it was pretty popular.
Yeah.
It was one of the top 10 films, I think, of 96. I thought it was okay. I was never a huge fan of The Birdcage.
Okay.
I liked Nathan Lane a lot in it.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like it because there's a certain particular thing in the premise that I didn't care for. Maybe I had the same problem in this one, too, so we'll see.
Okay, let's see.
CAGE AUX FOLLES, French film.
I have some issues with this, too.
Oh, I do, too.
I don't know if they're going to be the same issues, but
we'll see. So with this one, it's pretty much the same thing as The Birdcage, where you got a gay couple, two guys, and one of them
is super flamboyant.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one is just obvious.
Right. Well, Albin, or Zaza, is the stage name because he's a performer, she's a performer. And then and that's played by Michelle Serrault. Sorry if I'm butchering stuff. I'm really good at butchering names. And then Ugo Tognazzi plays Ronaldo. He's he's more of the butch one. And that's the one that Robin Williams played in The Birdcage. And
he's he's the more butch one.
But they own this the CAGE AUX FOLLES nightclub. They have a straight son, or Ronaldo has a straight son.
Yes.
And so
he apparently has been around since slightly before they got together.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think so. And so he pretty much knows them. That's my two dads, pretty much, essentially.
And he has not seen his mother in 20
years.
Right.
Yeah, he pretty much raised him on his own.
Yeah.
And you find out later it's because Ronaldo was kind of curious, because he was always gay, but he was kind of curious and kind of seemed like just, I'm going to try this and sleep with a woman.
Yes.
And
she literally was waiting.
But they were friends too, I think.
Later on, they tell you what happened.
Yeah.
She was waiting for him in bed, and he goes, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think they were friends too, and
that was a funny joke.
Yeah.
Because she asked him, how long was the last time? Or she goes, it was an hour and 15 minutes and twice. Or something like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so he comes and says, "Hey, I'm gonna get married." But and at first they're like, I don't know, but they're like, okay, well, congratulations, good. And he's like, well, the thing is, her parents are really conservative, and in fact, one of them is like a politician.
He works with the French president at the time.
Yes.
Who then gets killed.
Right. And the parents want to meet you. I want you to pretend that you're straight, essentially.
Yeah. You have just as much money as you actually have, because apparently they appear to be fucking rich.
Yeah. And so he's just like, well, you know what? I just want to make sure that they approve so we can get married. Then the whole thing is because Ronaldo kind of reluctantly agrees, but then of course Albin doesn't want any. It's like, I don't want to do that. But then they're trying to get the mom to come in and pretend to not have Albin even there.
Yeah.
But then
there's some sketchy. This is really early on. You find out this relationship isn't actually very good.
Oh, their relationship, the two mains.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of an abusive relationship.
It seems abusive, and as it goes on, I'm like, I think this is a fully abusive relationship.
I think so too.
And he just keeps going along with it, which I'm like, is sadly irritatingly realistic.
Yeah. But the thing that bothered me is that it's played for laughs.
Yeah,
and
because he hits him earlier.
Yeah,
because he's like
they're throwing things at each other. Or she's throwing.
The throwing stuff can be done for
laughs.
Gag. Can be done. In this, there's a fucking black eye involved.
Yeah.
And he mentions, are you going to hit me? And then the next thing you see, black eye. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And this is really early in the movie. And I'm like, am I supposed to watch this whole fucking movie? These people, I don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like the butch guy. Whatever.
Yeah. But then they get the mom to do it, but then she doesn't show up, and then all of a sudden Alvin dresses up as Zaza and is like, you know, at the dinner with the conservative
parents. Dresses up as the wife.
Yeah. And kind of pulls it off for a little bit.
Oh, it seems like it. Yeah. Actually, here's the thing. I think if I remember in the Birdcage, it didn't feel like Nathan Lane was pulling that off.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I believe it. It's fucking legit.
Pulling it off, yeah.
Because in this, it feels more believable because he is a drag performer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the subtitles, I wasn't sure if the subtitles were fucked up on pronouns or if the movie itself is going back and forth on pronouns. I wasn't positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But then it ends like kind of like the Birdcage does too, where they the press is after them and they're like, "Hey, what is this politician doing in this gay nightclub?"
The big climax shit literally happens in 15 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
All this stuff where he dresses as the wife.
Yep.
And they get caught, and the actual wife shows up.
Yeah,
and all that.
And then they, they're really upset, but then they have to get away. So then they dress up the politician in drag and get him out of there. And then I guess it's okay. And then they get married. It's the end of the movie. And then it ends literally as they're starting an argument at the wedding. Yeah. And then the credits roll. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's I was watching this and I'm like, there are parts of this that are legitimately very funny.
Yes, I think so.
But there's also like cringy, like, what the fuck is happening?
So my main problem with it, their abusive relationship, I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
I also have an issue with just the premise of the film. Like, oh, pretend you're straight.
It's mostly his son is a fucking piece of shit.
Right. You're like, oh.
And I'm like, am I supposed to, whose side am I supposed to be on?
And they're trying, and it was cringy to watch them try to make Albin more manly and trying to like, here, you gotta butter this toast like this, you gotta walk like this, and I'm like, ugh. I will say this, Ennio Morricone's score is awesome. Ennio Morricone did the music.
Yeah. The thing is, there's things about this movie that make me feel like this is similar to Two Men and a...
Three Men and a Cradle is a better movie.
But I think in this, it might be better made movie, other than there are times where I think this might just be a European thing.
I think 3 Men and a Cradle is a better made film, to be honest.
Yeah. There are times in this, they want the character to say something different, and so they just dub in something else, and the mouth doesn't move the right.
Oh, right.
Like, is this a European thing? Because later on, we watch a German film, and that same fucking thing happens.
No, that's it's pretty common in foreign films that they do that.
But I'm like, is that because they're used to watching American films that are dubbed, so they're super used to mouth and mouth and sound not matching, so they've gotten used to it and they're not bothered by it.
At least with the spaghetti westerns, I don't know about this movie, but like the spaghetti westerns, they would shoot without sound.
Yeah.
And then they would just dub in all the dialogue later.
And weird thing about some of those spaghetti westerns, they don't seem like they do a particularly good job.
No,
okay?
No.
But in this, it feels like almost everything is also dubbed later.
Yeah.
But most of it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
And then periodically, I think they're literally just saying something different. They're going, I rewrote this line, so say this instead.
Right.
And then we're just going to ignore it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was, and that's what my issue was with the Birdcage, is that I didn't like the son, and like, why are you trying to turn them?
That is the weird thing. It makes it weirdly, the fiance, the woman, it makes sense that she, on the spot, just fucking lies and says, his dad is blah, 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 his parents are this and that. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yes.
What it should be then about is confronting the fact that she had to do this.
Yeah.
Don't downgrade her for doing it, because it makes sense. She's afraid that her parents are going to find out because her parents are pieces of shit, okay? When the son repeatedly does this and says, you got to get rid of all this decorations.
Yeah, I love the butt thing. You got to
change your clothing.
That butt thing where they have the keys in.
Which I'm like, is that in the bird? I think
I might have had something similar to that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, get rid of this, get rid of that. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
It's shaming. And their butler maid guy or whatever has to put on clothes, which he's funny.
I loved him. He was funny.
He's very funny, and he doesn't like shoes.
Hank Azaria plays him in the Birdcage, and I remember him being really funny.
Oh, I bet you. That sounds funny too. No, that guy was funny.
Yeah, he was good.
Just like
when he was tripping on his shoes.
If your fiance loves you, she knows about his family. And she's accepting of it.
Yeah.
Then we're not going to fucking lie.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think so too.
That is the problem with the entire story.
Yeah. I did like some of the performances. Like, I think pretty much everyone does a pretty good job. I really liked the actress that played the boy's mom. I thought was really good. I liked her. I thought she was...
I thought she was really good, actually. And it was weird how much it made sense.
Yeah.
Because this is the second French film we've watched, where a woman just dropped off a baby at the at the father's house, funny, and then just turned around and left, expecting to never come back.
This movie was actually a pretty big hit for a foreign film. I think this is one of the biggest.
This thing has like 2 sequels,
right? But it does. But this one has the biggest following. Like, I think it made a lot of money in the U.S. box office.
Well, that's
and it's funny because 3 Men and a Cradle did not, and I think that's a better movie.
Yeah,
but this one
it is. I think that's both a better movie than 3 Men and a Baby and this.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely.
This is
and the Birdcage.
This has an interesting premise in '79. I do not understand why 15 years later they remade it. And they didn't try to fix anything.
No, that's the problem.
That is weird.
So, yeah, it's well acted. It has some good direction. And I love the Ennio Morricone score. But the premise is cringy. And their abusive relationship played for laughs was really hard.
The abusive relationship cringed me out so many times.
It did win Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film. It was nominated for 3 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Director. So the director was actually nominated for an Academy Award of this movie, which is crazy.
Best Director of a foreign film.
No, Best Director, just Director.
Really?
Yeah. And then adapted screenplay and best costume design.
I'm trying to think if I thought of anything in this as particularly.
It was
fine. There. It was fine. It didn't feel like a TV show.
No.
Because we're gonna watch the movies later. Yeah. The directing is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
They will fucking blow this out of the water.
I think so.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna give it a 2. Because it's not an unwatchable film.
That's the thing.
I'm actually curious to watch the second one, because the second one I heard. So the problem I had with wasn't the characters, the abusive relationship, but the premise. What I didn't like in the premise on that one, it's just a mistaken heist movie.
Yeah, I checked it out.
I kind of want to watch that.
It's weird, like a spy film. But,
I kind of want to watch that.
And then, the third one is literally just Albin.
Yeah.
Just, he's funny.
Yeah.
He walks around and people are confused that he's gay.
But
it's really what it seems to me.
I wouldn't mind watching the sequels. Maybe I'll like them better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But are you at?
Well, I'm going to go, God, the thing is.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not.
It's highly regarded as one of the best
regarded
films.
It does. It happens that weird.
I got to put it in its place, though. I'm giving it a 2.
The whole punching thing happened so early.
Yeah.
And I'm like sitting there going, confused for the whole rest of the movie. I'm supposed to like him, and then his son shows up, and his son is a real piece of shit. And I'm like, this has got people I don't like and their victim. It's really what it is.
Yeah.
And I do like the victim.
Yeah.
2 sounds right.
2 sounds right. Okay. All right. Next movie. This is the one Tim was excited for. Time After Time.
Yeah, I've seen this one a bunch of times.
You have seen it. Wow, a bunch of times. So this is directed by Nicholas Meyer, who went on to direct Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, that's Nicholas Meyer. What else did he? I know he directed a buddy cop movie with Gene Hackman and Mikhail Baryshnikov called Company Business in 1991. It's not good, but I'm trying to think what else he did.
Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. One of the other good Star Trek films.
He did do 6. Oh, he did Volunteers with Tom Hanks and John Candy and Rita Wilson. Yeah, I didn't really know too much about this.
You before we watched it, you said something about Jack the Ripper. So
I did hear about. I heard his name mentioned. I didn't know what capacity it was
involved in.
So anyway, so it takes place in London, late 1800s. Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells. He's that H.G. Wells, the actual H.G. Wells.
This is before H.G. Wells wrote any stuff.
Yeah.
It's apparently because he's young.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's Malcolm McDowell, so he's not actually
he's
that
36
young,
or 37.
But he actually looks pretty young in this.
Yeah. The mustache. If he shaved it, it probably would look younger.
But actually, weirdly, he still feels young in this.
Yeah. He's having a bunch of people over. I'll mention the opening scene later, but so he's having a bunch of people over, and one of the guys is late. His name is John Leslie Stevenson, played by David Warner.
Yes, I think John Leslie Stevenson is legitimately one of the potential Jack the Rippers.
Yeah. So he shows up, and you're like, okay, so they're at this meeting, he's talking to a bunch of people and stuff, and he's like, I have this presentation, I made a time machine, Malcolm McDowell. Then he brings everyone down, and he sees it, but then the cops show up.
And the time machine looks fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
God, it is a cool
it looks
great.
Time machine. It looks great. So he goes upstairs, because there's a knock at the door, and there's cops, and they're like, well, there's Jack the Ripper's on the loose, and we think he's in this house. So they go in, and then they look.
Well, I think they're he's in the area and we want to look through everybody's house.
Right.
Which at the time, and not in America, without the Fourth Amendment. Yes, go ahead.
So, anyways, they're looking around and they find John Leslie Stevenson's bag, and they open it up, and there's like a bunch of surgeon stuff, and they're like, and then they had some
bloody glove.
Yep, and they're like, oh, that's Jack the Ripper, and then they can't find him, and then they look, and the time machine's gone.
Well, everybody else leaves.
Right.
And H.G. Wells is like, what the fuck could have happened? He how could he have left? And he goes, and he runs downstairs and goes, oh shit.
Yeah.
But then the time machine comes back because he's given us all this like MacGuffin thing.
Yeah.
That if you haven't got the key, the time machine will come back. Which
sure.
means you're stuck there.
Right,
It seems like a bad idea. Okay?
So now he's like, I'm going to go and try to bring him back because I just unleashed Jack the Ripper
on Utopia.
Yeah.
That's a great line because he just assumes the future is amazing.
That's his theory.
Utopia is just around the corner and there's not going to be any such thing as war.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, dude, I remember. Oh, you're going to find out some bad shit.
So he goes in 1979, and which was the modern time at that time.
Yeah.
When this movie came out, he goes there, and then then it's like a fish out of water thing.
Oh yeah, for like 40 minutes, it's awesome.
But it's not like cheap shots. It's not like the typical, like, it wasn't like, because sometimes I see fish out of water and I just roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
No, it does it great in this.
I thought they did a really...
Because he's not an idiot.
No.
They need to make sure when writing this that H.G. Wells is not an imbecile.
Yes.
So he goes around and he only makes mistakes that make sense.
Yes, I agree.
Because at one point he drops the name Sherlock Holmes. It's assuming nobody has any fucking idea who Sherlock Holmes is, and they're like, yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
Well, then he's going around to the bank because he wanted to trade he had some British pounds and he wanted to get it turned over.
He brought like a whole bunch of... He was going to the future and he said, I'm going to have to trade with the natives.
Yes.
Because he brought like a bunch of jewelry and shit. Because that stuff will still be valuable in the future.
So he ends up doing that, but then he realized like, oh, I wonder if Jack the Ripper did the same thing. So he goes to all these different banks to see if anyone... And then he meets a bank person played by Mary Steenburgen, who they ended up getting married in real life after this movie.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
really?
They were married for like 10 years, yeah.
Oh, cool. It makes sense. They have good chemistry.
Yeah. So, but anyways, she's great in this. She was like 28 in this movie.
She's good.
Yeah,
and she falls in love with a time traveler.
Just
like she does 10 years later.
In Back to the Future 3. And I was reading on that, like, that might have not been unintentional. So.
Well, there's another Back to the Future reference in here.
Oh, yeah?
Did you notice?
No.
I mean, it's obviously a pre-reference.
Yeah.
The time he travels to is November 5th. 1979.
Okay.
And I'm like, holy shit! We went to November 5th, 1955!
We did! So, but anyways, Mary Steenburgen automatically is like, that guy's super cute, and I'm going to help him out.
Even though he was like, he kind of gave a chauvinistic thing right in the beginning, and then it was like, just a very obvious mistake.
It wasn't a mistake, yeah.
Yeah, it was a mistake. He just assumed it would be a dude, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, is there a gentleman?
You're against women's lib?
He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and I'm so cute and handsome.
Well, he was always talking about that even before he left. He was talking about like, oh, and men and women will be equal.
Yeah. No, it's legit. It's legit.
He just wasn't used to it.
It helps that we have seen him say that.
Yes.
So it doesn't come off as him being a doofus.
He just wasn't
who then
used
is like
to it.
attracted to a girl, so he's like, sure, I'll say whatever she wants.
Well, anyways, she like gives him her number and everything.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what the fuck that is.
No, he doesn't know what. Yeah, because she goes, oh, the beep 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 beep, and he's like, oh, beep beep beep, sure. Like, he has no idea.
Also, being a man who was around in 1979, beep beep beep. No, it was dials.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know what San Francisco.
Probably some little.
I mean, some of the bigger cities like San Francisco maybe had the dial tone.
But anyways, but then he ends up you find out that Jack the Ripper is killing people.
Yeah,
he's killing
at a much faster rate than Jack the Ripper ever did. He kills like 2 a day.
Yeah.
So fucking many.
And so Malcolm McDowell's trying to figure this out, and obviously he's like, well, I can't tell people who I really am, so he's like makes up a name, and that's Sherlock Holmes. And he's trying to get people to yeah.
Well, because he does that. He finds him at the Hyatt.
He does track him down
because that's where Mary Steenburgen told him.
Yep, she's like,
which actually is beautiful because it all comes back.
Yep,
and it comes back perfect.
Yeah.
This movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're not wrong. I watched it. I'm like, oh, he's right. This movie's really good. No, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, so there's obviously it gets down to a confrontation, and what's really neat when he's finally trying to convince her. Spoilers. by the way. Oh yeah.
Yeah, time machines.
Yeah. So, but what so when he finally is trying to convince her, I'm like, okay, I gotta tell her who I am, and of course she doesn't believe it. He's like, here, let me prove it to you, and I'm like, and she's like, nope, and it's like, listen, remember, I told you weren't gonna believe me, and she said, oh, I said I would. Okay,
yep,
I guess so.
That was just a perfect callback.
Yeah.
Because she promises, no, I'll believe you. And then she doesn't, and he's like, says,
that's why I didn't want to tell you.
Too bad. You actively said you believe me, and so now you're fucking trapped.
Well, she actually said that. She actually, like, even before he said it, she's like, I told you.
All right.
Yeah. So then they go to the museum. Well, because when he comes back in time, his time machine is in your museum now, and that's where he ends up being in San Francisco.
Which is one of the things that don't make sense in
Whatever.
the movie. Mostly because
it's a movie.
No, here's the thing. It could have made sense.
Yeah.
Because when he travels through time, his maid watches him.
Yeah.
And the time machine raises up and then vanishes.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to the future, it has been there the whole time. And I'm like, no, it vanished. How did they move it to San Francisco? A vanished thing. Okay? It should have just been he disappeared inside, which is kind of what happens at the end to the bad guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it seems like he could have just been inside and
Right.
Okay, whatever.
So that didn't bother me.
It was just a weird choice for the special effect is really what it is.
So, yeah, but anyway, so she's like, we're going to go 2 days, 3 days in the future or whatever. It's going to take half
2
a second.
days. Literally 2 days. It's Thursday, they go to Saturday.
They go boom, and then...
Or maybe it's Wednesday, go to Saturday.
They're like, okay, we're 2 days ahead now. She's like, whatever. She walks out, and then she sees the newspaper, and she's like, that's 2 days ahead. And then she turns it over, and she sees herself, she's dead on the
fake
front
employee murdered.
Yes.
Which I'm like, is awesome, but also is like, hasn't Jack Ripper at this point, they find out, she's the 8th victim in a week. And then for some reason, they only put her picture up because she's pretty, and I'm like, I got bad news for you. They were all pretty.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's when the she's like, okay, we're gonna try to do this together and try to help him, and then the rest of the movie's like just trying to catch Jack the Ripper. So yeah, I think this movie's really good. It's really well directed. It's shot in 235. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
The music by I can't pronounce his name, but it's Miklos Rosa is phenomenal. Great music, great score. Malcolm McDowell is perfectly cast as H.G. Wells, and it's too bad. He was a mildly famous actor.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a superstar.
Most of the stuff.
But he's good enough that he could have been.
He's
a really good actor,
good.
and I really like him in
also,
this movie.
David Warner
I'm
fucking great.
So I'm a big David Warner fan.
God damn, was he good
so
in this.
I love David Warner.
And when they're
a bad guy
when they're in the 1890s, we all know, I mean, maybe if you didn't know anything about the movie at all, which you knew about Jack the Ripper, so you kind of assumed. Also, there's an opening thing where he's murders someone.
Okay, let me talk about that. Okay. That opening scene is almost in one take, and it is fucking incredible.
Oh yeah.
It just starts off in this master shot of this club, and you see a drunk prostitute walk out with a guy, and they separate. She starts walking away.
It's
and then
first person from his perspective.
Yes, and then the camera starts moving, and then it's going past the fence. It follows her. She turns around, turns back, and then he follows her more. And then you actually see his hand come out from the frame and everything.
He's wearing the glove that they later find.
Yes.
God damn, this movie's fucking perfect.
And then they go into the alley, and then the murder happens. And when it happens, it's like he literally eviscerates her, cuts her stomach. I was like, holy shit!
And it's now once again, I'm going to warn you right now. I'm giving this movie 4 stars. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
I figured you would.
But when I talk about the stuff like that, it's just a special effect choice.
Looks good
for when they travel through time.
Yeah.
And then later on, they travel 2 days in time. And he goes, okay, it's not going to take any time. And I'm like, later on, it went through a real elaborate thing for you to travel. It's instantaneous, but whatever. Also, when he cuts her. And apparently, in the canon of this, she's the final victim. No, we all know who the final victim was. She was the only one who killed inside.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And all that bullshit. but whatever. Who cares?
No.
Nobody actually knows this shit about Jack Ripper because I'm a fucking psycho.
David Warner is great because I love him. He was in a lot of Sam Peckinpah films. He was in Straw Dogs. He was in Ballad of Cable Hogue. He was also the bad guy in Tron. He's Sark.
Yeah. He's so
good. And he's the bad guy in Time Bandits.
Oh God, because he's great.
He's fucking awesome.
He's a great bad guy,
and he's really good in this.
But
movie.
Weirdly, I would say in all the bad guy roles, he's the scariest in this.
Oh, he's
because
I think
like I said, when they're in the 1890s, he legitimately feels like a good friend.
Yeah.
Even though we all know, no, he also feels like he could be a psycho murderer and turn at any moment.
Yeah, and that confrontation in the Hyatt was really good between him and Malcolm McDowell.
And then there's the chase.
Oh, yeah, the foot chase.
There's a foot chase, which is really well done.
It's really well done. Really, like, there's a great one that, like, he's going down the escalator and then he's trying to go down the other side.
Yeah, he, like, attacks Wells, but then the maid comes in.
Then they're going down the elevators.
Yeah, like an elevator chase.
And then they're on opposite sides of the bridge.
Good. And they're, like, looking, and they're wearing very obviously anachronistic clothes, so you can see them from fucking years away.
It's really cool.
It's so good.
I think this movie is a very good premise. Mary Steenburgen is fantastic as well. Oh, also too, when he arrives in San Francisco for the first time and gets out of his time machine, first person he sees is fucking Corey Feldman. I was like, what? That's Corey Feldman as the kid.
Is it really?
You didn't know that?
I didn't recognize
that. Was Corey,
because he was like freaking 6.
Yeah, that was Corey Feldman. I thought his first thing he did was Fox and the Hound in '81, but apparently it must have been this movie. Yeah.
God damn it, I wish I was in this movie. It's fucking awesome.
Anyways, yeah, this movie's really good. Again, I always say this, and you always give me a hard time. It's hard for me to give 4 stars.
No, that's fine. But we're different people, Austin.
Yeah.
You're a fucking baby who can't give 0s, and you're afraid to give 4s. That's fine.
If I haven't seen it multiple times, I imagine if I see it multiple times, I'm going to like this more and more.
God, I love
it. It's
this.
an easy 3.5 for me.
I saw it, watching it again. I'm like, God damn, this movie does everything right.
Yeah.
I read some reviews where people said, "Oh, it feels like a TV show," and I'm like, "You got to watch more."
It does not feel like a TV show. It's really well done.
That opening thing with this thing. That's not a fucking TV show. That's fucking spectacular.
No, I think it's really good. Easy, like I said, easy 3.5 out of 4 for me. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It is so much fun. And it's funny because there's funny stuff in it, but it isn't like falling off the chair laughing. It's like you kind of smile and laugh, but it's not like super funny, but it's also dark and has some serious moments. And Malcolm McDowell has some great dramatic acting, but then he's also got some great fish out of water stuff. It's just a lot of different stuff.
The version of time travel in this is you cannot change it. Even though at one point they were trying to change it, and I'm like watching, and I'm like, I already know the ending, but I'm also like, you can't change it. Because we all know he goes to the future. He gets there. He sees pictures of himself as an old man who is a famous novelist from the past. So he's like, I have to go back because I have to write all these fucking books. I don't know what they are. Okay.
And then what I really liked at the end, normally, they have these at the end of movies all the time, but they have a little tag at the end. Yeah. I love that tag because it just goes. Yeah. He went on to make the time machine and then he predicted this, and this. And I'm like, that's because he fucking went to 1979.
Well, also, no, a lot of it is he had a wife who was from the 90s.
Yeah.
Who then died in like the 20s. She didn't make it very long.
No, like he lived 20 years after her.
Yeah,
so
that's weird. That's sad.
No, he
lived until after World War II. I did not know
Thank you for making me watch this. This was a treat. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
No, it's awesome.
Austin, sometimes I'm glad we're friends.
Next one is Dracula. This is interesting because this is directed by John Badham. John Badham directed Saturday Night Fever right before this.
What a weird thing to direct. Right. Holy shit, really?
But he's directed a lot of interesting films. So he directed a couple buddy cop movies in the 80s. He directed Stakeout. He directed The Hard Way with Michael J. Fox and James Woods. He also directed Blue Thunder, fucking War Games.
So he's done plenty of cool classic films.
Oh, absolutely.
And then this Dracula movie everybody forgets about.
Right? No one ever fucking talks about it.
No one ever talks about this fucking Dracula movie.
And I'm like, and it stars Frank Langella and Laurence Olivier and Donald Pleasance in there. And,
Lawrence, how old was Laurence Olivier? Because he feels really old in this. And I'm like,
I want to say he was in his 70s. Let's take a look. 1907.
He died 10 years later.
So he was
72.
He was 70. Yeah.
I think they even aged him up a little bit because
I think they did.
Really fucking old.
I think they did. Yeah. But anyways, this one pretty much follows the original novel and
it follows
the stage production.
The parts where after he gets to London, the boat is only barely in it and nothing from Castle. None of that
stuff. Yeah. None of that. Harker goes to the castle or everything
none of that.
Like
well,
that.
actually, in the novel, it's not Harker. It's literally some other guy, I think.
Oh, right.
Because that guy dies.
Yeah.
Okay?
Was it Renfield?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Renfield is also...
Yeah.
Renfield in this is weird because he does... Renfield is not needed in this movie. He doesn't do... He's cool. He's creepy,
really liked him in this movie,
but he doesn't
actually.
But his character serves zero function in the entire story. He's supposed to be a guy who works for Count Dracula.
Who is it? Tony?
He doesn't. He
Tony
gets attacked by
Haygarth
Count Dracula, goes to the insane asylum, eats bugs a lot, and then just gets killed by the Count.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But yes, okay, sorry, give your synopsis.
I mean, it's the typical Dracula story, but it's funny, they actually changed the names of Lucy and Mina.
They did. They do that for the second movie, too.
Yeah.
For the second one of these. It's weird.
So,
because I watched that, I'm like, what'd they do for two of these 1979 movies?
That is really weird. But anyway, so Frank Langella is Dracula, but it follows Harker. God, who plays Harker in this one? He's someone I wasn't really familiar with. Trevor Eve. Never heard of him before.
Nope.
He was fine.
Yeah.
But so he's gonna get married to Lucy, played by Kate Nelligan, and she she was like 29 in this movie. She ended up being in like I think Prince of Tides with Nick Nolte.
Oh, okay.
So she's she might have been nominated for that movie. Anyways, they're gonna get married or whatever, but he's got like the Count as his client or whatever, and
because the Countess bought the house next door.
Yep.
A mansion. Because
yeah.
They all live in mansions.
Right. But then Dracula, like seduces. Well, no, this one's different. This is Mina. I don't remember. It wasn't Mina Van Helsing before.
No, that's some of the changes.
Yeah.
They literally just changed the first names of the characters. Well, actually, no. Van Helsing is not related to anybody.
No.
Okay?
So
in this, she is like his daughter for some unknown reason.
That was really weird they made
But
that.
I mean, it's some of the weird things they did. They skip up to that point, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think most of the movies should just do that.
Yeah.
They don't need the other stuff.
No.
Well, granted, there's one that just came out of theater. It's literally just the boat.
Yeah.
That sounds cool, too.
Yeah.
If they made an entire movie that was just the stuff of the castle, would also be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, because that shit's creepy.
It is. But anyway, so he's there at like a dinner party or whatever, or like who got invited for dinner, and he's kind of seducing Mina, but then Lucy seems to be drawn to him too because he's Frank Langella, and
he's a suave, debonair, handsome dude.
The way that the Dracula is portrayed in this film is different than most other Draculas. He is portrayed as a sexy man.
Yeah, with zero accent.
Right.
He's just a British dude who somehow grew up in Transylvania.
Right. But the way that Frank Langella chose to play him was in a different way. He said, I wanted to make him sexy. Like I was reading an interview with him.
Because that's what he's supposed to be.
Because in
this one, the women that get bitten want that to happen because he can control them.
Yeah.
And he tries to do it with some of the dudes, and it kind of works, but not so well.
I feel like that was more convincing than some of the other Dracula films. Like the Todd Browning original Bela Lugosi. Of course, Bela Lugosi's fantastic in it.
Yeah.
But he's like a monster, and here he's a sexy dude that happens to be a vampire. And that's what I thought was kind of
the whole thing.
And I thought that was interesting.
He is legitimately that if that guy moved in next door, you would just have to assume, oh, my wife's going to leave me. Because she's going to go with that dude.
Right.
Who wears that fucking outfit with the biggest collars you ever fucking seen.
Well, Lucy...
And those collars, are those supposed to be bat wings?
I don't know. Lucy's dad, played by Donald Pleasance, is a doctor at the Insane Asylum. And there's some great scenes here. I love the set of the Insane Asylum.
Oh, the Insane Asylum, they did a good job using that because when Mina gets turned and they bury her and shit, so that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
That stuff's cool because she's killed. They don't understand what's happening. Yeah. But also, this is during a period, which as far as I can tell, seems to be like the 1920s because there are cars and shit.
Yeah. Okay? I want to say it was like the early 1910, 1915.
Yeah. There are the cars. It's not 1931. The cars aren't that good.
No.
It's right in the transition period between cars and horseless carriages.
I think so.
Okay?
I think so.
It's what it seems to be.
Yeah. And so then, they figure out about the vampire thing. They get Van Helsing in on it. And so Donald Pleasance and Laurence Olivier trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, in this, he comes in because his daughter has been killed.
Right, but then
he reads a book that gives him all the information he needs to know about how vampires work.
And then there's a confrontation or whatever at the end. I actually like this.
Here's the thing. I liked a lot of this movie.
I liked it.
And I actually was very appreciative at the end because in the original story, what they do, they just wait till daylight, they go to the castle, open the thing, and stake them.
This was a pretty exciting.
I'm glad they changed it. It's weird because they showed that on the boat he had multiple caskets, like the backups. Yeah. They got rid of all those. And he goes, but don't worry, he has other backup caskets. And so I'm like, well then, whatever. But then there was a chase, and the chase was kind of nifty.
Yeah.
They get on the boat.
Yeah.
And
that was exciting.
One of the more interesting things that happens at that point is two of them get on the boat, and they tell what's-his-face, stay here just in case he's on that boat, because we're not sure. Yeah. And so at that point, I'm like, well, he's not in the fucking boat then. This is all going to come back to he's actually out there. But nope, he's on the fucking boat. And I'm like, well, that was quite the twist. Because usually in a movie you do that. That means the other guy's actually the most important one. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's usually what happens in a fucking movie. It does not happen.
And then at the end, they Van Helsing hooks him with the back, and then they pull the thing up, and he goes, up, and I just the way they did that was awesome.
It was great, and he doesn't like burst into flames because it's a very overcast day.
Yes,
because earlier on he gets hit with some sunlight on a very sunny time,
right,
and he just bursts into flames when he's like turned into a bat.
No,
I'm like, it makes sense that he's just like writhing in pain. Because the sun isn't as powerful right now.
I really enjoyed the whole feeling and the look of the film. Again, it's shot super widescreen, 235.
I'm sorry, I just noticed Sylvester McCoy's in this. He's one of the doctors.
Yeah. I was wondering. I couldn't think of what is. I'm looking at him like that guy looks familiar, and then I'm like the credits.
Who was he? Who was he in this?
He was just one of the guys that worked at the hospital. So he was.
Okay.
He was in the background,
real bit role.
But I recognized him. But yeah, I really like the guy who played Renfield, Tony Hager.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
I think he's great in it.
The way he was eating those bugs.
I thought he did a great acting job. I just was like confused why the character who served literally no function in this story, zero. He gets like attacked sort of at one point, but then he doesn't even seem to know that even though he actively saw Dracula turn into a bat and attack him, he goes, "I got bit by a bat." Yeah, we know. Dracula zip, I know.
I really
like, yeah, it was me, fucker.
I really like John Badham's direction because it was the 235. It looked great. The stuff with the boat's cool and the boat crashes.
Such a beautiful stuff in
all
this
the
movie.
sets in this film are fantastic.
When at the one point where when Lucy, it's weird. Because right after her best friend is killed, they're supposed to go to the Dracula's house for dinner, and she goes, "I'll go anyway." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure you have an out, okay? Your best friend died last night, but whatever." She still goes. That stuff though, there's so many candles, and all the shots are through the candles. Fuck, it's cool.
And then their love scene is awesome too.
Yeah,
because they like shoot with this like ultra red lens or whatever, and then it's like there's like a sideways shot of them like fornicating, and it was just like, what is going on? It was just really cool, but it felt fantastical.
Yeah,
I really liked that. I thought it was cool. I really liked, and of course, John Williams did the score. That didn't hurt.
No, that didn't hurt. This has a much more traditionally gothic-y feel to it than the next movie, which has like a synthy techno.
Right. I thought this was like a traditional movie, and it was kind of made old-fashioned. It's more straightforward than the next one, and that's what I liked about it. I really like the straightforwardness of the movie, and I don't know why that this isn't as well known, because I think it's a really solid adaptation of Dracula.
I think it actually.
Frank Langella. I love Frank Langella in this movie. He's really good. It's a very
interesting take on Dracula.
Yeah,
it has some weird stuff. Like in the beginning of it, Mina is like sick in bed, and then the boat like shows up, and she like goes outside for some reason. Which it's because Dracula like was in the thing, and he was calling to her. Makes sense. Nobody ever seems to give a shit. And they're like, oh, then Mina found him in the boat outside, and I'm like, why does nobody give a shit about the fact that Mina, who was literally sick in bed, went outside, and found this guy? And also, it's a little weird because when they show the boat, you see the wolf, which is Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
But then he's in the casket.
Yeah.
And he, like, reaches out, which is a great shot.
Yep,
when he reaches out to grab her, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm like, he's in the casket? He was just a fucking wolf. What are you talking about? He was right there as a wolf. Is that not him? Maybe it was just a wolf.
My only negative thing in the movie is that, not that he's terrible, but I was disappointed in Laurence Olivier as Van Helsing. I thought he was okay.
Oh, well,
he's a great actor.
There's some great stuff, though.
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was doing something different with the character. And my favorite version of Van Helsing is actually Anthony Hopkins and Bram Stoker's Dracula. I fucking love him. As Van Helsing in that movie. But I don't know. I didn't really care for his Van Helsing. Not that he did a bad job. I just didn't like it as much.
Mostly because there's the scene where you can see in the mirror the door opening, and Dracula's on the other half of the thing, and there's nothing in the mirror. That is when Van Helsing is fucking positive, because he's like looking in the mirror. He knows that something just entered. Dracula tries to use like mind shit on him with his hand, and he like reaches to his back pocket and pulls out a crucifix. Awesome! So cool. So that whole sequence, I fucking loved it.
I thought going into this movie, my expectations were fairly low, and I like this a lot better than I thought it was going to. So this one surprised me. I wouldn't call it like an undiscovered lost gem, but I think it is a solid telling of Dracula, and I'm at 3 stars for it.
Okay,
I enjoyed it.
Just a couple of other things that are from my notes.
Yeah,
they do say the word Nosferatu.
They do,
because Nosferatu means like the undead.
Yeah.
Okay,
they do say that.
They say that. He does say, "I never drink wine.
Yep.
He says good evening at least 5 times.
Probably 50 times.
He says middle of the day. He walks up to somebody, good evening. And I'm like, we understand it's a catchphrase from the Dracula thing. You don't have to fucking say it every 2 sentences. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
He does say Children of the Night.
Yep.
Which is also in the next movie.
Yep.
Okay? The mirror stuff is so fucking good in this.
I
though.
think
they use the mirror to prove that Mina that has been turned.
Yes.
Because they pull a mirror and what's his face doesn't believe it. He goes, here's a fucking mirror. Oh look, there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, what the fuck is you got a weird fucked up mirror.
No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
think it's really good. I'm also gonna give it 3 stars.
Yay, I'm glad you liked it.
It's a 3-star, and I'm gonna actively say this like that's significantly more than like the next movie. Okay?
Yeah.
But there are things about the next movie that are scarier than this. But there's also things about this that are hard to stay awake. Okay,
I just say about about the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One thing about scary though in this one. This one really wasn't scary. There was some pretty good gore in this movie though.
There is some pretty good gore.
Actually, the first thing in the movie, like in the first 2 seconds on the boat.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The guy gets his throat ripped off of.
Yeah, they're like trying to open the casket, and his hand comes out of there,
rips the guy's throat,
rips the throat out, and they're like, get on the boat, and they're like,
holy
what happened to that guy's throat?
Yeah,
that doesn't happen in a boat accident.
I thought that was really cool. Oh, but then there's another scene too when Mina's just walking around, and all of a sudden Jonathan Archer goes, "Boo!" That actually made me jump. I was like, holy shit, that was a good jump scare. I don't really like jump scares, but that was a good jump scare in the movie.
But so that's what I would have to say. This is a really good Dracula film.
I think it is.
This is a really interesting.
I'm glad you like it too.
It does weird. It's weird to me that they changed Lucy and Nina's first name for no fucking reason. Yeah. Okay. It actually makes sense for story structure that Van Helsing shows up for a different reason, other than just being I'm Van Helsing, I'm super magical. Okay, so that actually makes sense. There's lots of things in this that make sense.
I wouldn't call it.
And this is, there's so many beautiful shots.
Oh, it's really well. It looks great.
He climbs on walls like fucking Spider-Man.
Oh, the way that Franklin Jones climbing up the walls is awesome. God,
it's literally, it's as good as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it's climbing walls stuff. But
really
the first time he's doing that
looks great.
He like looks through a window and he's like upside down, and I'm like, that was legitimately the creepiest thing, because he like looks in and oh my god, that is fucking creepy.
It's good.
I'm like, oh my god, that weird guy in that weird outfit's outside.
Can we just talk about this one more than the other one? All right, next one is Nosferatu the Vampire. Now, I was actually really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, here's the thing. Going into this movie, I'm like, this is the one film boy Austin wants to see.
Yes!
And then by the end of it, I'm like, I'm not sure how much Austin likes the movie because I didn't like it very much.
Yeah. So Werner Herzog he's a pretty acclaimed filmmaker, German filmmaker. I haven't seen his most famous film, or his most highly regarded film. I can't pronounce it. Is it Agari, Wrath of God, or?
Yeah, I don't know. This is actually the first Werner Herzog movie I've ever seen.
So I've only seen some of his later films because he did a lot of documentaries. He did Grizzly Man and a documentary.
Maybe I have seen a documentary.
And then he did,
because those are obviously going to be filmed in a very different way.
He did the sequel to Bad Lieutenant with Nicolas Cage, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, which I actually really like. It's really good.
That's weird because I've heard only good things about that, and I've seen Bad Lieutenant, but I've never seen that.
And then also Werner Herzog is an actor. He's in a lot of different things.
I've seen it. I have seen him in more acting roles.
Have you seen him in he was in
I saw him in Reacher, for crying out loud.
Oh, that's right.
He's in
Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's in the Mandalorian.
Like the Beskar Steel. He talks like this.
One of the cool stories about the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Only because I'd rather talk about most anything else. They double filmed a lot of stuff from the first season.
Yeah.
Anytime where they had the baby.
Yeah.
They filmed it once with the puppet and once without it in case they had to CG the puppet. The puppet didn't work, and he's actively said they were cowards for not believing that the puppet would work, because obviously the puppet fucking works.
Yeah. If you hear him in interviews too, and he still talks like that. That's just how he talks.
That's just how he talks.
I love him.
That's weirdly why I don't hate that Reacher film, because at the end of it, he's really fucking
he's fine.
good
Yeah,
at it. Actually, Tom Cruise is fine in it too.
And Robert Duvall's in it.
Yeah, it's actually a fine film.
Yeah. Nosferatu the Vampire.
Oh.
I really wanted to like this movie.
Yeah, you want a good night's sleep? Because this is going to put you to sleep.
I might have nodded off a couple times.
I know I did.
So I was really looking forward to this. This is actually pretty highly regarded as well too. It's an arty film. It's an arty version. It's pretty much the same story, but they changed a lot of stuff going in this movie. You know, because they have the same thing with
it's weird. It's somewhat similar to the 31.
Well, you have Harker
because it's rushed.
Right.
Boy, does everything have to happen so fast.
Yeah.
Yet they're also, because of the
way this movie is, it's the same running time too, though. Which is funny.
But that's the weird thing. In this movie, they have to allow for times where you just get to watch a guy walk for 5 minutes. Oh. What the fuck's happening?
There's literally...
Just show me vampires!
So I get it. It's Werner Herzog. He's Artie, right? So
God damn, is he Artie?
So, like, there's literally a shot in the movie when Jonathan Harker's walking to Dracula's castle.
They show him start walking.
No. They show clouds moving, and I timed it for 47 seconds.
What? Really?
It's 47 seconds of clouds moving, and that's it.
Well, when Dracula, they do call him Dracula in this.
Yes, they do.
Which I mostly believe is because they couldn't say Dracula in the original Nosferatu.
They could not. They got the rights.
Because they didn't have the fucking
rights.
rights.
It became public domain.
But the weird thing is, this is a German film. I think in Germany, obviously Nosferatu is even considered a classic. But that is their Dracula classic.
Yes.
And Dracula is our Dracula classic.
Yes.
And so they're going to just call it Dracula. Also, okay, as much as we're going to rip on this, the fucking Nosferatu looks so fucking amazing in this movie.
The makeup's fantastic.
It's fucking fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the guy playing him is so fucking terrifying.
It's Klaus Kinski. He's an intense... He worked with Werner so many times. There's actually a documentary about their relationship.
Oh, okay.
Because they had a very abusive relationship.
Oh, okay. Well, dude, he's good. You know what I wish? I wish he was in this movie more.
Yeah.
Because he's not. There are large swatches where it's not just him not being in it. There's shit about the plague or some bullshit. And I'm like... Dude, what the fuck?
So
why is this taking so fucking long?
This
movie is almost identical showtime to the other Dracula film.
It is.
It feels 3 times longer.
It is.
It feels so. That movie.
Dracula doesn't show up till 27 minutes into this film either.
Which in the other Dracula film,
shows up right away.
It's like 8 minutes in.
Yeah, at least. Maybe 5 minutes.
And if you count the time when you see the wolf, like a minute and a half.
Yeah. Well, the premise is Jonathan Harker. He's going to do the estate of Dracula. He's going up there. And then he becomes a prisoner there, and then he makes his way back, comes back to get Mina or whatever, or is it Lucy? I can't remember now.
In this, they swap it again, but I can't remember.
No, she does play Lucy, Isabel.
But this one, this one, Van Helsing is just, once again, he's just Van Helsing. He's like a super vampire murder monster or something, murder guy or something who shows up.
Well, at first I was just like, "Where's Van Helsing?" I'm like, "Oh, that guy's Van Helsing." Okay, cool. Yeah. They didn't really have a big introduction. For him.
But it's mostly what they changed the name was they killed the other woman. In this.
Yeah, Mina.
Yeah. And they once again they kill Mina, even though in the actual story, Mina's the one who is alive at the end. Yeah. Technically, although neither of them are alive.
So, anyways,
they're both totally dead.
Well, the first confrontation was Dracula and Harker though, and he like cuts himself, and he's backs away. I was like,
that's so. And
he's like,
good.
You know what? I'm just gonna go in a whole hog, and he just grabs his hand, and he starts sucking out his hand.
When that shit happens, I'm like, oh, finally, this movie's gonna start getting good. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, what happened to this movie again? Yeah. Why is this movie so fucking boring?
Well, again, it's Werner Herzog he's being arty. He's doing his ambitious.
But he's also supposed to tell a fucking story.
Oh, right. But it comes across more pretentious.
It really is fine. It's super pretentious.
Which I kind of knew it was going to be an artier film, but
I knew because even though I hadn't seen every stuff, I'm like, okay,
it's going
to be artsy.
Yeah.
But I also know this is called Nosferatu. It's German. It's going to have an actual, very authentic, and it does, looking Nosferatu, who's almost as scary as the 1920 new Nosferatu. Only because there's no fucking such thing in the world as scary as that guy.
Yeah, Max Shrek?
God damn it, that's fucking scary.
Now, when Dracula comes out, so he gets on the ship and he goes, and then when he comes there, like, everyone in the town starts dying, and it's like, oh, it's the plague. And everyone thinks it's the plague.
Well, here's the thing. As far as I can tell, it is.
There's rats everywhere. Yeah. But then she's like, oh, I know what it really is. And then she's like...
Well, no, he's not... There's a time when there's a bunch of people having what they consider their last supper.
Yeah.
And then they're immediately dead.
Yeah, they're dancing in the streets.
Did he show up and murder them all? No. I think they died of a plague.
And there's a scene where the townsfolk are just dancing in the street and they're trying to dance with her. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then at the end, she's like... Then she just, like, pretty much just gives herself to him... Just so she can wait for he can wait.
She distracts him so the sunlight hits him. And it seems to be her entire plan.
And then
I know what I must do.
Then Harker's still a vampire at the end of the movie, and
he's basically
and he arrests Van Helsing.
She put like communion wafers crumbled up around him so he can't move.
Yeah.
Okay, which was actually one of the other cool things in the first movie when they put communion wafers in. But I'm like,
oh,
you know what I wish they had done?
Cool.
I wish they had done it like here, where they crumbled them up, because maybe if you didn't notice, you would get in and you get all burned up.
Okay, so when this movie first started, it opens like in his crypt and it shows all the skeletons. That was cool.
Yeah.
It looks really neat. It kind of set it up,
neat.
and the way that he shoots, because he does a lot of handheld or Steadicam stuff. The way that the camera moves around, like in the Dracula in the previous movie, it looks like everything was a set. Here it looks like everything was a real location.
Well, yeah, but in some weird ways, because they show...
It felt more naturalistic.
They have his Transylvanian castle, which is apparently in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's actually just a ruins.
Yes.
But when you see the inside of them, I'm like, it's not fucking ruins. That's a real castle.
Yeah.
But then they show the outside again. I'm like, nope, that's just the ruins.
Yeah.
These do not match.
It's but it has a naturalistic feel to it.
Yeah.
I think that's just
there's
Herzog's
at least
style.
one time where there's this really long shot. It's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
Where, what's his face? Harker. Is in Dracula's castle, and he travels through the castle, and you follow him. And he looks in rooms, and I'm like, I'm waiting for the jump scare. Waiting for the jump scare.
Nothing.
And it never happens. And I'm like, that's actually really cool.
No.
Because I was actually interested.
Yeah.
It was a long thing where I was interested. And then he gets on the boat, and when the boat comes to town, there's a minute and a half where you just see the boat slowly moving, and then it basically it doesn't even crash, it just basically parks.
It bumps.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Why was that? Nothing happened.
There's a lot of shots.
It doesn't even make you think anything's going to happen, though. It's not
there's a lot of shots in the movie where, like, you see Dracula walking, it's a master shot towards the end of the movie, and then he walks, and then he goes out of frame. And then the camera is still on for another 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You could have cut right there. It's just like there's so many shots that go on way too long.
Weird decisions. Weird decisions.
And I'm sure it was just being
already. This movie is 100 times better if it's an hour and a half instead of an hour and 50 minutes.
And
if you can cut down some of that stuff, you could still be artsy. It doesn't have to be boring artsy.
So what they chose when filming the movie, they chose to film it to appeal to English-speaking languages, to record it and film it in German, and then they would do the same scene again in English
with people who have never spoke English before in their life.
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ, and these people all suck at English.
And obviously, when we went back in time, this was the version to see. If I had a choice, I probably would have watched the German version.
I think the German one's almost better. Although, actually, here's the thing: if anything, Nosferatu is fine. Renfield in this movie, I loved him.
No.
He's 100 times more. He's an actual. He's actually being controlled by Dracula. In the other one, he's just a lunatic who doesn't serve any function in the fucking story.
I hated his acting in this movie.
Oh God!
After everything he
said, I actually liked him because it was actually acting. The other ones are literally. I believe they were speaking English phonetically, and they had never heard of English before.
overacting.
Overacting. This one? It's what it felt like. A lot of the people.
No, you didn't like Renfield in this one, did you?
This is the one I liked Renfield in.
The way
disagreement.
When he would do his delivery after everything he said, he goes
loved it.
I hated it.
Loved it. You want to know why? Because the rest of the movie I fucking loathed, and it was at least something that I was like, when it happened, I'm like,
he was my least favorite thing in this movie.
I didn't put me to sleep. That's all I cared about.
I also, as you said, I liked his look. I didn't like Klaus Kinski. I thought the way he talked, he was bored. I didn't like his delivery. He was trying to be creepy, but I was bored with his performance. I like his look. His look looks great.
I actually liked.
I didn't like his line delivery. It was laughable.
But the first time when you first see him and he's in the castle, I liked him there.
Yeah.
When they get to London, I agree. He seems to have stopped caring.
Yes.
Okay. But in the castle shit, when you first see him,
when he
cuts himself,
that was good.
That was fucking great.
I like that part.
Oh, thank you. It took fucking a half hour, but now finally things are going to happen. Then nothing happens again.
As much as we were kind of like, making fun of her, being very critical about the long walk to the house because it took forever. Yeah. There's some great shots in there.
Oh yeah, it
looks great, like the waterfalls. And stuff.
I was actively watching
the waterfalls.
And I'm like,
it looks great.
I was watching and I'm like, I don't know why this is in the movie. But at least if I could go to there, because there was some stuff where he was like walking, and there was like this path with like a handrail, against like next to like a rapids, and I'm like, that's obviously replaced. That'd be cool to see. After all that walking, there's a fucking carriage on a road that brings him to the thing. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So I was kind of liking some of the look and the mood of the film. But then as the movie was going on, it just kind of stopped caring about everything.
If everything was cut down by 40 seconds, by 40%.
I like Isabelle Adjani. She's a fine actress. But here's the problem. Werner Herzog himself has said the definitive version of this movie is the German version.
I believe it.
And because I think the acting, because they're not normally English speakers, the acting is very stiff and stilted.
It's very stiff.
And it just...
Does he go to London? Because at one time he says he's going to Lisbon, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So I don't know where they're going. But they're speaking English, so maybe in this version they go to London, and in the other version they go to Berlin or something.
I don't know. I was not... No, I didn't care for that. And then as it was going on, and then it went to the end and the big finale, and I thought it just got more pretentious and pretentious as it went on.
What was the ending? What happened? Because after he's dead... And then Harker has been turned.
Yeah,
there's like a desert shot of a guy running.
That's it. He's riding a horse. He's running away on a horse, I guess.
Is that Harker?
That's Harker, I think.
You think, because there's no fucking way to know.
Yeah.
I didn't know and also it was a desert, and I'm like, there's no fucking deserts.
And so
where the fuck is this desert?
I know among a lot of film snobs, people like this movie, and I really didn't like this movie. I thought it was kind of boring.
I think one of the problems is we have literally just watched Dracula, which does almost everything better than this movie tries to do it.
But that one's not being arty either. That's just being.
But it has artsy stuff in it. It has great shots.
It does.
It has phenomenal sets. You're right. Everything's on a set. But it all looks great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's trying to do a naturalistic approach. So I respect Werner Herzog. I see that he was really trying to make a very interesting take on Dracula, but he didn't make a particularly good one.
No,
that's one of my problems. It wasn't very good.
It's a Nosferatu movie.
Yeah.
And he wants to remake Nosferatu. They mostly can use the name Dracula.
Yeah.
Because the people when they made Nosferatu, they got their asses sued off.
Yeah.
That is a Dracula movie.
Yeah.
Although, if you read the book, Dracula is described to be not a zombie-looking dude.
He
looks more like a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
In those weird, crazy suits with giant rims on their heads or whatever.
Yeah, I really want to like it, but yeah, to go back again, I hated Roland Topar as Renfield. I hated him.
That's our biggest difference, and it's mostly because I was getting so bored whenever he was on there. I'm like, oh, good. And also it's because in the previous one, Renfield served no function. And
I loved him in it, though.
Here's the thing, he still didn't serve a function.
He
breaks out, and then he goes to Dracula, and Dracula tells him to do something. I don't know if he did it.
I really liked his performance.
I have no idea what the fuck happened. I had just found his performance to be interesting, just because I still believe he's a German guy who had to do it in English, and so if he's going to do a different language, he's going all the way to Crazy Town. Okay? And he went all the way to Crazy Town.
He really did, and I did not like it. That was really disappointing.
But I guess the other difference between Renfield is, though, in the other Renfield, he was a lunatic and he would eat bugs. But he also had, like, a job. And he was complaining about taxes and shit or something like that. He was a guy. In this, he is truly just off his rocker insane.
Yes, he is.
But also, he doesn't go fully insane.
See, I didn't like that, but that laugh that it just felt so forced, and that's what I didn't like about it.
It all felt forced. I think the problem was all the rest of the actors felt forced. At least I wanted somebody when they were doing forced to be interesting forced. Okay.
So I'm pretty low on it. I'm 1.5.
There's some really pretty shit. I'm going 1.5 too. 1.5.
There's some pretty stuff in there. Yeah.
And I legitimately think
it's just pretentious.
There are a lot of these things could be cut down. If this movie was an hour and 28 minutes,
and I don't know if
it would be a better fucking movie.
I mean, maybe I hate it even more because we saw a superior Dracula movie beforehand. I don't know, because that movie was awesome.
The weird thing is, the other Dracula movie says we're only going to do the London shit.
Yeah.
This tries to do the London shit.
Yep.
They kind of do the boat stuff, but not really. They just talk about the boat. It's mostly like they show a guy in the boat like putting down his like captain's log, and that's about the entirety of the boat. And then 3.5 minutes of the boat pulling into harbor, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck's happening?
This is what floors me about the two movies here. Nosferatu the Vampire. This is more highly regarded than the other one, and it's a shame because the Dracula Frank Langella John Badham movie, that movie is really good, and I think it needs to be rediscovered because I think it is a good little movie. That's the
better movie.
It is.
I actively think every acting role in that is done better.
Yeah,
even as much as I liked the Renfield in this, the other Renfield is acted better. He's really just not like cartoonishly silly. No, and that was at least something I could tolerate watching.
No,
okay.
This was a big disappointment for me.
What about there's a new Nosferatu coming out like next year. Oh, who's making that? Is that a German one?
It's Roger Eggers. he directed The Lighthouse. This is
God, that movie's gonna fucking creep the shit out of people.
Can't wait.
Oh,
I cannot wait to see it. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right,
so.
well, maybe we'll have to weasel time to go see other Nosferatu before.
I really want to see that. I'm looking forward to the new Nosferatu. That'll be good. Yeah, so best movie for me is obviously Time After Time is the best film.
Yes, Time After Time is the best film. It's the best film. But as much as I think, and the acting in Time After Time is great, but boy, I think almost every acting in Dracula is better.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm trying to go with best.
There's only one movie in this where nobody's murdered, okay? Because in My Life of Brian, whole droves of people are murdered at the end of that movie, okay?
Pretty violent, actually.
Very violent. In the CAGE AUX FOLLES, somebody gets hit, okay? There we go. That's as much violence as that. And it's weird, because in the other ones, we're all acting like, we're all talking about how the violence and this and that. The only violence we gave a shit about that actually made us mad is the CAGE AUX FOLLES violence.
Yes.
Because it's the one that's the real violence.
It's kind of played for laughs, too.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, yeah, best actor, best performance. I'm torn between Malcolm McDowell and Frank Langella because I really like Frank Langella as a thing. I think I'm gonna give it to Malcolm. I think I'm gonna give it to Malcolm.
I just because of how much I like Time After Time, but I really fucking liked it.
You gonna do Frank Langella then for performance?
But here's the thing: what's his face in the CAGE AUX FOLLES, the more effeminate one, whatever.
Yeah.
He was really good too.
Yeah.
And weirdly, actually, the fiance's dad is actually really good in the role to such a degree. It was like, is that guy actually a piece of shit?
Oh,
that guy might be an
I did like him in that.
That guy might actually be a piece of shit. But he isn't going to be a piece of shit because at the end of it, he had to wear drag and shit. So I'm like, you're not going to get an actual fucking conservative piece of shit.
Actress, I'm going to get to Mary Steenburgen because she's awesome.
She is really good.
Yep.
And she is weirdly, even though we have two Dracula movies where there are women and actually at the other Dracula movie, the person
Lucy's
who gets
good.
turned is Lucy. At the end of that one, Lucy's a legit vampire.
Yeah.
She's been turned, even though they gave her blood transfusions.
Yeah.
God damn, this movie's good.
Dracula?
This movie's so
good.
The more you
think about it.
It's so fucking good.
But Time After Time is still better, though.
Oh, yeah, Time After Time is fucking... there's nothing...
No.
I have to really weasel any negatives in Time After Time.
Best supporting actor is hard because I'm actually cross between... Because I really like Tony Haygarth as Renfield, but I'm probably going to go with David Warner for Time After Time because I fucking love David Warner. So
which one was he?
David Warner? Jack the Ripper.
Oh, Jack the Ripper, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
David Warner.
I guess he is a... he's not a co-lead, obviously.
Supporting.
Because because we have to count Frank Langella as a supporting.
Nah, he's lead.
Because he is a lead. I mean, not as a supporting, because he is the lead. Even though, in many ways, that movie has got all leads.
Yeah, I really like Donald Pleasance in that.
Donald Pleasance is good. Yeah. That movie is Donald Pleasance is actually a supporting. He's okay.
He's supporting.
He's good, but he's not good enough to get any awards.
No.
No, I'm gonna give it to Warner.
Yeah, David Warner's good.
It's all Time After Time. And I'm trying to come up with the women because actually Lucy was really good at Dracula.
Kate Nelson was great. She was really good.
She switches. She turns because he's compelling her and shit.
She did a really good job.
That stuff is great. The weird thing is when Mary Steenburgen finds out that she's in the fucking newspaper.
Yeah.
That's
a great scene.
She is more terrified at that point than the people who find out, fucking vampire lives. Okay?
Best music. I'm crossed between Dracula and Time After Time because I really like...
yeah, we didn't really talk about the Nosferatu music, which was... it was kind of like an organ, but it felt like the organ setting on a Casio keyboard. Is what it felt like.
It was fine. But I like Ennio Morricone's score for CAGE AUX FOLLES 2 is good.
No, it's Dracula is the music.
Really? I might go Time After Time because I really like the music. I think I'm gonna go Time After Time for Miklos.
Okay, I guess we'll have to have a disagreement. Even though I like them both.
They're both good.
I'm just gonna give it because the Dracula music. Maybe it's just because right afterward I watched one that nothing seemed to fit.
Right.
That fits. Everything about that one fits.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna say that might be my favorite Dracula movie.
I really like Bram Stoker. I like Francis Ford Coppola's.
I've never seen any of the Hammer ones though.
I've only seen a couple.
I think the 1971 is supposed to be the best one.
I haven't seen that one.
Because that's the most that's actually just Dracula.
I've seen the Horror of Dracula, the 58 one with Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
But
that was not... But the 71...
Dracula AD or set 1972.
Yeah, that's actually... It's weird. The one that came out in 1970 is literally just a reboot.
Yeah.
And they just said, we're just gonna make Dracula again. We're gonna make it more based on the book.
I need to see some of the Hammers,
than the first Hammer one, which was...
Do you like the...
Dracula's just...
Do you like the Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'm
not sure if I've seen it, actually.
Oh, my God. Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of...
It's mostly because I don't know if I could tolerate the Keanu Reeves.
He almost ruins the film.
But also, I think, doesn't Winona Ryder, isn't she like a close second to ruining that film?
I think she's very good.
Oh, okay.
You know, Gary Oldman's Dracula, he's fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the imagery.
Yeah.
And he changes the most.
And you know who plays Renfield in that? Tom Waits, and he's fucking brilliant.
Oh, Tom Waits.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's already crazy. So he's not even acting.
He's really good in that movie.
I'm pretty sure Tom Waits actually eats bugs. Okay?
I love that movie. I think it's a fun movie. Yeah, it's almost ruined by Keanu Reeves, but Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of Van Helsing is like my definitive Van Helsing. I love him in it. Plays him as slightly kooky. You know, it's just like, well, what happened to Mina? Oh, she turned into a vampire, so we put a stick in her heart and cut off her head. What? The way he says it is so funny in the movie. It's really good. Yeah, so that's our podcast.
Is it Mina in that one too? That gets turned?
No. Lucy's the one that gets turned in that one who they have to kill.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Mina is played by Winona Ryder.
That's the original one. But we watched 2 movies where they swapped the names.
Yeah, it was so weird. It was really weird.
Because when it happened again, I'm like, what, did that just happen again? Am I wrong about the names? I had to look it up. Oh. And I'm like, no, I'm right about the names.
Before we go, and we can cut it off if we want to, but I got to tell my Malcolm McDowell story. So,
okay, no, go ahead. McDowell, we have to stretch this to a real playtime where we talk about 5 movies.
Time for time, Malcolm McDowell is great in it. But I've always been a Malcolm McDowell fan because I love him in Clockwork Orange, obviously. And when I was in acting school, or I was in high school, I took an acting class. There was a kid in there. His name was Andy Stone, and he's like, he was talking about, my cousin is dating a famous actor, and everyone's like, who is it? And it's like, well, no one knows who it is, Malcolm McDowell. And everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, holy shit, Malcolm McDowell.
What
are you talking about? This is a '94.
Everybody knew who fucking Malcolm McDowell was.
Not 18-year-old kids, because anyways.
I wasn't 18.
I was
a little older, but when I was 18, I fucking knew who he was.
So I was going nuts about, I'm like, oh my God, Clockwork Orange, and I was going crazy, and he's like,
that's Malcolm McDowell.
He's like,
sorry, I'm wrong.
He's like, oh yeah, right. He's like, you know who he is? And I'm like,
yeah, I still knew who he was.
I'm like, yes, I know who he is.
And then he was in Generations, and so you're like, okay.
Yeah, that came out, yeah. And I'm like, I know who he is. And then, so he thought that was cool. I ended up becoming friends with the kid. He called, like 2 months later, he calls me up. He's like, hey, I have something for you. You got to come over. And I'm like, okay. So I go over to his house.
And then he killed you because he was a big fan of Clockwork Orange.
He hands me an envelope. And I pull it out, and it's a picture. And I have it, I don't have it up, but I have it somewhere. It's a picture. It's Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange, and it says, to Austin, Rio Horror Show. He got Malcolm McDowell's autograph.
But wait. You have that, but instead you have a poster of Krull. Okay? You have a Krull poster on the wall.
It was, so at my old place, it was up in the bathroom. We haven't unpacked everything. We're still in my new place.
There's still a Krull poster on the wall.
There is. There's a Cool as Ice poster up there. Yeah.
We have mentioned that before.
Yeah.
We had not mentioned the Krull one before. I had not noticed it until
But yeah, so he told Malcolm McDowell, he's like, there's a kid in my class who's like, and then he just had to happen to have a photo, and he signed it, and he's cool. Like, give it to your friend.
That is very
so
cool.
I have that. And it's funny because he, I think he got a divorce from Mary Steenburgen, and he married my friend's cousin, who was significantly younger, was like at least 20 years younger, I think, is what it was. So I want to see if we can actually have her name, which was...
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it was Kelly.
I was
her name in 19.
I knew
who
Malcolm McDowell was.
Yeah.
I got him confused.
But Kelly Kerr in 1991. That's her. That's right.
Married to Mary Steenburgen, and then
got divorced.
They're married now. The woman you're talking about.
Yeah, they're still married. They're still married.
Over 30 years later.
And she's in the movie. So there's a movie called The Player, which is a Robert Altman film, which has just cameos from everybody. It takes place in Hollywood. And there's a scene where Tim Robbins plays a producer, and Malcolm McDowell, playing himself, goes up to him and he's like, hey, if you want to talk to me, if you want to say something bad about me, say it to my face instead of the press. And it was just like he made up that was an ad-lib dialogue. He's like, go up and say something to Tim Robbins. Standing beside him is my friend's cousin.
Oh,
as
wow.
herself. Yeah, so she's in the movie The Player. So
That's really cool.
Anyways, so
I've seen The Player.
I have an autographed picture.
So I guess I know now. I've seen that movie she's in.
Yeah, I have an autographed picture of Malcolm McDowell, Rio Horror Show.
Malcolm McDowell is really good in this.
Yeah,
this is a really different role. For some reason, I got him confused. Yeah, it's a really different role for him. He's really, really likable in this.
Yeah,
and
he's the bad guy in Star Trek, and he's the bad guy in Tank Girl.
Okay, we don't need to talk about Tank Girl.
And he pretty much wears the exact same costume that he wore in Star Trek Generations. He looks exactly the same.
God, yeah, he does. He very much does. He likes money.
But he's the bad guy in Blue Thunder. He's the
Quit
bad guy.
talking about Blue Thunder.
Well, maybe we'll go see it.
I mean, if you fucking pay me in friendship, yay!
Have you seen Blue Thunder?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, that's our episode.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There was a Time After Time TV show. Did you know that?
No.
They made a TV show a few years ago.
A few years ago?
Until like 2017. Wow. There's a Time After Time TV show. I watched a few episodes. It's actually an interesting thing. I don't remember a ton about it because it got canceled after one season. They did not finish the storyline. So I'm going to say you probably don't need to watch it.
Okay.
But it might be really good because I think, I'm assuming what happens is, I think the first episode basically tries to tell the whole story.
There it is, 2016 ABC television show.
I think the first episode tries to tell the whole story of
it was canceled after 5 episodes.
Oh, yeah, but I think there's like 3 more episodes they filmed. It's one of those situations.
Anyways, that's our episode. Thanks for listening. Next week, we're going to go back to October 14th, 1994.
Oh, well, that's not quite 30 years ago.
No.
We're going to break this time machine on. It's not supposed to go. It's not supposed to go back less than 30 years.
Yes, that's the day that Pulp Fiction came out in Minnesota.
Oh, so we're not seeing Pulp Fiction.
We're not going to see Pulp Fiction.
Okay, that's the way we do it.
Anyways, follow us on Instagram and listen to our podcast. It's awesome.
I mean, I hope you're listening to it right now.
That's right.
Kind of how this works. Austin.
All right. Well, I'm your host, Austin Kennedy.
I'm your other guy, Tim Kaiser.
Yay! And we'll see you next time.
Good job. I approve.
Yay!
I approve, Austin.
Ooh, I got a Tim approval.
Yes. Nobody gets Tim approval.
That no one does.
No one, except for Time After Time.
Okay. Bye-bye.